Hi, this is Saige Hoey with Let's Groom, and today we're going to be doing adorable faces. So this class is all going to be about little tips and tricks that you can use in the salon on your everyday pet grooms that are going to elevate the face and the expression and give you a really cute heads and faces on your dogs that are really adorable and fun. So this is Cody. He's going to be our model today, and we're going to do his little head and face. So the first thing I always like to do when I get started is think about the overall appearance of this dog as far as proportion and balance and symmetry. So I'm going to look at him all over. Now we can see he's already pretty short in his head and face. His body has been clipped. This isn't a one comb. So I don't want to take a lot of length off of his head and face because I'm going to end up making him look like his head is way too small for his body, especially because he's just a little bit chubby right now. So I'm gonna not take too much length off, but I still wanna shape it up and I wanna really bring out his adorable expression, and hopefully we can make him look a little younger, happier, brighter, and full of life for his mom. So the other thing I notice when I look at him is that he has a little bit of an overbite, and so his chin is kind of shorter and we don't have a lot of dimension down here in the chin. So I'm also not gonna take too much off of his chin, but I'm also gonna then focus my attention on the muzzle and all the hair from the lip line up. And this is going to do two things. One, it's going to distract us from the fact that we don't have a lot of hair and volume down here in the chin, but it's also going to bring our eyesight as we look at him and we're looking at his expression. It's going to elevate what we're looking at up towards his eyes. So everything we're doing is going to draw your line of vision up to his cute expression in his eyes. Because sometimes we forget that the first thing that the client looks at when they pick up their dog is their dog's face and eyes. And that's what they're always looking at, is right here. So that's what we want to focus on and make center. A lot of times what I'll do is envision a perfect circle around the dog's head and then draw crosshairs through the middle. And that's going to give me a really good visual line that this is what I want to be center, is in the crosshairs. And then I'm going to create a circle surrounding that, right? So first I'm going to set the length on the top of my head. You're welcome to hand scissor for this. I'm going to use a snap-on comb. This is an A comb, or I think this is an inch and a half is the A comb. And so I'm going to use this comb and just reverse, and I'm going to follow along the line of the skull just to take any of the little tips and wispies off. Like I said, I'm not looking to take a lot of hair down off of this and make it too small, but this is going to save me some scissor work to just set that length really quick. And you can see he's a little bit shy about me doing that, so I'm just going to be gentle. And we'll get a little off this side. And if I use a clip comb to set the length on the side of my head, I'm doing it from the underneath opening of the ear here straight to the nose, and I'm going to stop at about the eye right here. So it's just this section. I'm going to go from the opening of the ear straight forward towards the nose just to where I'm about the outer corner of the eye. And that's just going to set some lines for me to start. Okay, so to start setting up my look, I'm going to set parameters for myself, and I'm going to pre-cut in lines and parameters that I'm going to then use later to start filling in the shapes. So the first thing is we're looking at these dogs. They're three-dimensional, so we're not just looking at one plane to be flat. We want to look at it all over. So we've got many circles on a dog's head. The first one is the whole head. Then we have the muzzle. Then we have, looking at from the top, the circle here and the whole head circle. We've got from profile, the circle here. So we're really looking at a lot of circles that we're going to start dialing in and setting the lengths for, and then working from that point in. So the first thing I want to do is focus on his expression and scissor around his eyes. The expression is the most important thing we're going for here. So the rule of thumb I like to use is I want to open up the expression at the outer corner of the eye. If I cut a little bit of this hair out at the outer corner of his eye, it's going to make him look more awake and brighter and happier, and we're going to really see his eyes. So if I do this from this side, what I'm going to do is come in just at the corner here, and I'm going to cut a little C into the corner. So it's a C shape like this. And just going to brush that forward. And just along that eye line, just cut in a little bit and create that little C shape. And then I'm going to take thinners And you can do the whole thing with thinners, or you can use your scissors first and then come back, but I want to blend that into the side of my head so everything's nice and smooth. I'm going to open up that expression. So when you look at him now, that right eye we did that on is a lot brighter and open, and we can see his eyes really well. And now I'm just going to soften again. Everything we trim, we go through and hit it with the thinning shears and soften and blend. Now I've got my two eye corners opened up and his expression is wide open. Now what that's going to give me, if I put his chin down a little bit, is two starting points to reference to create a half circle that's going to make my visor line. So now that I have those two eye corners, I'm going to comb everything forward, and I'm going to scissor from this corner to this corner that I've cut in and just do a nice half circle. And you can see because of the waves in his hair on this side, I really don't need to take anything off on this side. I'm only bringing it here to make sure that I'm symmetrical from side to side. And then again, anything we cut, we're going to go back with our thinners and soften that edge up. And now that I have that visor trimmed, I'm going to go through and make sure that I'm from my visor line I've cut to the top of my head is nice and smooth transition, and I don't have any wonky hair sticking up too high. All right, so now we have a nice soft expression. Nice soft expression on his eyes, and our visor is set. So now this circle is done right here for his eyesight. Now, what I'm gonna do is come in here to the bottom of his ear. I wanna gently pull his ear over, and I'm gonna cut a little channel right here at the bottom of his ear, because that hair, we don't see it, and all it does is get in the way. It gets matted really often, and we just clear it out and let airflow get up to the ear. So now I've cut that channel, and you can see I really went in there and I cut it all the way down to the same length as what I did on my clipper work on the body. But now I have short hair, and everything in between needs to be blended. So I'm gonna comb that up, and I'm gonna blend from the line I cut here to what I did on the eye corner and just blend the two together. This is a good spot for the thinners. Because he has such straight hair, the thinners are gonna give a much softer finish and blend everything really well. Okay. So now I've got that done. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And it's just the bottom opening of the ear. So I don't want to catch this ear hair in there. That's going to look funny. I'll pull that out of the way, and just the hair at the very bottom opening of that ear hole. Good boy. And then we're going to blend everything from this line to the eye corner again. And then a quick note, I know you've heard me say in other videos that a rule of thumb when you're scissoring is if you're scissoring against the grain, you're going to create volume and lift. And when you scissor with the lay of the hair, you're going to make things lay flatter and smoother. So because I want to get a nice teddy bear head and get a lot of lift and pop in this face, I'm scissoring against the grain. All right, now I've got that set on the sides. Now what I'm going to do is set my chin. A lot of these dogs, if he's the opposite, he doesn't have a lot of chin, but some have a lot of chin and a lot of hair or rolls. The skin rolls make the hair pooch out. So on those dogs, I would take the clipper comb you used on your body and gently have them razor, and I would go from about the throat latch and I would reverse that clipper comb up to the chin and clean up this bib area and just get the hair out of the way so you don't have to scissor it later or worry about it. All right, so now we're gonna set the line of our chin. And again, we know he doesn't have a lot of chin, so I'm not gonna take a lot of the hairs up front, but you can kind of see with my hand in the background that we do have some unevenness here. So I'm gonna gently hold him and just even that up and then soften it and take some of the bulk out with my thinners. But I don't wanna go much shorter than that or he's gonna look really unproportionate. All right, so now I've got my chin set. I definitely want to clean up this lip line and get the hair out of the lip. So he doesn't have too much there, and I don't, as you can see with his little underbite, I don't want to take any hair off the bottom lip or I'm going to make his underbite look worse. So I'm only going to take hair off the top lip, and then that's going to help that underbite not look so pronounced, if he lets me. Always be safe. You can see I'm holding his mouth shut with my finger and thumb so that I'm more safe and he can't open his mouth and lick and I accidentally cut his tongue. All right, so now we've got our lip line set. Now I want to start setting this muzzle. So the first line I'm going to create is anything sticking out past his nose is going to come off. So I'm going to take all this hair, and you want a nice fine tooth comb for the face. I'm going to pull this face hair, everything on his muzzle, straight forward towards me out past the nose. And then anything sticking out past his nose is going to come off. Straight down. Let me see, buddy. Like that. And I'm going to go in and just soften it a little. Again, holding his mouth closed for safety. And then when that gets brushed back, because we combed everything straight out and forward, it's nice and blended and a nice cascade down the side. Okay, now, because our focus is to look right into his eyes and gaze into them, we always want to keep a cute little muzzle over the top, like a donut muzzle, but we don't want it to obstruct the vision of his eyes. So, that being said, I'm going to comb everything on the top of his muzzle straight up and out, and I'm going to look at him dead on and see if there's anything sticking out really wild or anything obstructing my view of his really cute eyes. So I'm just going to go in and hit the tips of that muzzle and make sure that I can see right into his adorable eyes. You gonna fall asleep now? Good boy. Yeah, good boy. You're doing so good. All right, so we don't have a lot of lift here because he has a straight hair. You know, he has straight hair. It's a little easier to see on a dog that has a curly, fluffy coat, but it's the same principle no matter what kind of dog what kind of hair coat type that you're working on. So now our muzzle's pretty set. I don't want to take too much off or I'm going to get way too short. And if we go too short in the muzzle, he's going to get that kind of mouse look, and we don't want that. We want the proportion to be that we have a big puff and a big circle, right? So now we have our muzzle set. The last thing we need to do on this face is we're going to set kind of the jaw line and the sides right here. So I'm going to use what I cut under the ear here as one reference point, and the nose is the other, and create a half circle from A to B like that. Okay, so it's pretty much there now, but I'm going to comb the hair down and manipulate it a little to make sure I've got all the little edges and make sure that line's clean. And then I'm going to lift this coat up, and you can see I've got a nice line here, but now I have these super long hairs that are creating kind of a shelf, and that's kind of a harsh look. So I want to come in and thinning shear and blend and bevel that shelf off so it's not so prominent. And again, I'm going against the grain so that I'm getting that lift still, but I'm just going to soften that line and that edge and take that shelf down and make it look a little softer and smoother. And again, the rule of thumb is you comb and comb and cut and comb and comb and cut. Keep going back in with your comb, fluffing the hair, manipulating it. So Cody has his cute little teddy bear head going on here. I did want to note that we never shave down the dog's nose. It takes all the volume out of this cute little teddy bear kind of donut muzzle, so don't ever do that. We only are clippering just in the very corner right here, and we're going to keep this hair. And then we're going to trim his ears real quick. So a couple of notes on ears. It's important to remember that you're not just trimming straight across and beveling like from front to back, but you also need to bevel from side to side to create a nice soft look. And the other thing I never do is I never pick up the ear and trim the hair on the front of the ear. I only ever trim the hair on the front of the ear while it's laying natural on the dog. The ear leather on the front of the ear, it curls down like a curtain, almost like it's pleated. And so when we pick this ear up and we straighten that ear leather out and trim it, and then we let go, it crinkles again and it's not even. So you can pick it up to trim the hair on the back of the ear, but don't ever do it for trimming the front. So what I like to do is let it sit natural and kind of just come in from front to back and create a cute little round beveled ear and get my length set with my regular shears. And because he's got this straight hair, now I'm gonna soften and bevel with my thinners, and I'm going to start just hitting. So right now I'm hitting this beveled edge, so that's going to be my outside, and then I'm going to go in and get the inside, and I'm also doing front to back, so I'm rounding and beveling up the front as well as here at the back of the ear, so that from all angles we've got a nice rounded bell shape. All right, so Cody's head and face is all done here. I think it's looking pretty cute. You say hi to everybody, you're being a good boy. Yeah. So a couple things I wanted to say is this was a very standard teddy bear trim on a pet groom, but these same principles work on any dog for any coat type. And then if you wanted to add a little flair and zhuzh it up a bit, or if the client likes kind of more of the Asian fusion look where things are more exaggerated, what we did here was very proportionate. And so if you're going to do Asian fusion, you just need to exaggerate one thing or another, right? The Asian fusion is all about something being cartoony. So certain things like are very exaggerated, whether it be a big puffy ear that's huge and the rest is short, or if they have a big round puffy muzzle, this big donut muzzle, and then everything else is short, they're just exaggerating a certain portion of the body. So if you have maybe a doodle with a big muzzle and face, and you can do the hair out in that big giant puffy face, that would be really cute. So you're doing the same principles, you're just exaggerating one thing out of proportion, but you're still gonna set your lengths as far as your chin on that type of face is gonna be super short, and then everything is about building that volume up over the top of the nose for the donut muzzle. And if you were doing like a big puffy exaggerated ear, you would do a very short harsh cut in on the side of the head so that when you saw that ear puff, it really stood out that much bigger. So same thing, you're still gonna set all your lines the same. Do your eye corners and visor, set your chin length, top of your nose, build your muzzle, and then this circle right here. And the last thing you always wanna make sure you've done is blend the top of your head into the neck where you've done your clipper work, and make sure everything's all finished off and smooth and ready to go. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.